There's a new #1 team in Matt Snyder's Major League Baseball Power Rankings. The Yankees have overtaken the Braves for that honor as the Bronx Bombers are off to a 12-4 start to the year. Royals, the biggest risers, up 13 spots to 9. Rangers, biggest fallers, down to 7. However, champs are still in the top 10. Let's welcome in Matt Snyder and our MLB insider, Jim Bowden, for their weekly spot here, of course. Snyder with his power rankings, Jim with reaction, and any team news that we need to know about. All right, the Yankees claimed the top spot. Matt, take us through putting them #1.
Well, the Braves lost the series to the Mets this past week, and Spencer Strider has been put on the injured list. The Dodgers have lost 2 of their last 3 series, including to the Padres at home. Yankees just aren't losing series, and I know Garrett Cole is hurt, but so many teams have frontline starters out right now, such as the Dodgers, Braves, Rangers, Astros, Cubs, Orioles, Guardians, and yet the Yankees are the team that's 12-4 without their ace. Carlos Rodon has really picked up some of the slack there. He's using a cutter this year, and it's been quite effective. He's looking a lot better than he did, obviously, in a catastrophic season last year. Marcus Stroman's looked good as well. How about Anthony Volpe offensively? He's just about to turn 23. He looks like he's making the leap here, and now that he's earned the leadoff spot, hitting in front of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, oh, that's going to do wonders for his development. I don't think that the Yankees are going to hold this spot all year, or maybe not even until next week, but I thought that they deserved it right now over the Braves and Dodgers.
Yeah, I agree with you. Without a doubt, Matt, the way they've been playing, it has been fun to watch. How about first in the American League in on-base percentage? Remember last year they finished 24th out of the 30 teams. First in Major League Baseball in walks with 84. Absolutely huge. What I love the most about this lineup is they lead Major League Baseball in pitches per plate appearance at 4.18. Now, as you mentioned, Anthony Volpe is leading the way. He leads the team in on-base percentage. That's right, higher than Juan Soto. He leads the team in OPS. That's right, higher than Juan Soto. 2 homers, 8 RBIs, and there's no doubt he is developing quickly into a superstar, while Juan Soto already is one with his 68 on base, 3 homers, 15 RBIs. This is a Yankee team that's 6-0 in one-run game. They have won the first 5 series. This is only the 3rd time in Yankee history they've won the first 5 series. You can't make this up. They have the lowest team ERA after their first 15 games since 1968. You cannot make this up. Now, I text Aaron Boone this hour, and I asked him, what has been the under the radar key to the Yankees? This is what he texts me. Although we haven't got a ton of innings from our starters yet, they've given us a chance to win every game. Team is playing with a great purpose. And the difference between last year and this year is they're competing really well throughout the entire game, all 27 outs. And their edge has been their energy. So there's no doubt these Yankees are a story, and they deserve to be on the top of Matt Snyder's list.
I always enjoy a Jim and text flex, and that was some great info from Booney there. By the way, Yankees trying to get back to the postseason. They'll be division heavy at the Rogers Center with the Blue Jays and the back home with the Rays this week. All right, Matt, let's get to Milwaukee, which climbs to the top 5. They have that series win over the O's. Again, no Craig Counsell, no Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff they have, but he's on the shelf. What stood out to you and continues to stand out to you about what the Brew Crew's doing?
I mean, they just keep winning series. Look, they're 10-4 right now, 7-2 on the road. They've hardly even been at home. They took 2 of 3 in Cincinnati. They took 2 of 3 in Baltimore, and they almost swept the Orioles. They had a lead late in the game yesterday. I think a little bit of that bullpen depth crept up on them there because Devin Williams is hurt, and so you have to knock everybody back a spot there in the bullpen, and that finally caught up with them there. But still, a great road trip again, 10-4. They're 3rd in the National League in runs scored, 2nd in OPS. William Contreras and Christian Yelich are both putting up MVP numbers, but it's not just them. Bryce Terang, Joey Ortiz, up and down the lineup, they're hitting the ball. I don't think that they can keep this up. And again, on the rotation, Joe Ross and Colin Ray have been great so far. I don't think that's going to keep up either. But to this point, I do think they have earned a top 5 spot.
Yeah, and they've done it by their offense, as he mentioned. I mean, 91 runs scored, that's 3rd in baseball. But the pitching's been middle of the road. That's all it's been, except for their top 3 guys, right? Freddie Peralta is a Cy Young candidate out of the gate after his first 3 starts. 2.5 ERA. You've got Joe Ross has pitched well. Colin Ray has pitched well. Of course, Peralta Slider's just unhittable. But they had some bad news over the weekend when Christian Yelich left the game with a back injury. And the reason I say it's bad news is he looked so great to start the year. 5 homers and 11 RBIs. And it looked like he was back to his MVP form. And then over the weekend, he gets the back injury and has to leave the game. So that's something we're going to have to monitor. And the one player he didn't mention that we have to talk about, Willy Adames, playing on his free agent year, is off to a great start, hitting .310. He's got 3 homers, 9 RBIs. And this is a team that can steal bases at will, led by Bryce Terang, who we mentioned. He's gone 7 for 7 in stolen base attempts. I don't think the Brewers' pitching is going to allow them to stay at the top of this division. But I'll tell you one thing, this team can bang.
Former Arizona State head coach Pat Murphy off to a good start with the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's get to Kansas City. Matt Snyder, biggest riser up 13 spots. A 7-game win streak will certainly help. I'm a big Bobby Witt and Cole Reagans guy. What else do we need to know about this Royals team?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. The first thing that stands out is MVP candidate and Cy Young candidate. But I also like how the Royals, even though they're a small market team and they didn't go crazy in the offseason, these last 2 years or so, they've really kind of diversified how they've built this roster. We just mentioned Bobby Witt. He was a drafted and developed guy. Cole Reagans, Cy Young contender, he was traded for last year. And even if you move down, like Nelson Velasquez, they picked him up at the trade deadline last year. Seth Lugo, who's been unbelievable this year, was a free agent signee. Brady Singer's been great so far this year, drafted and developed. So they've kind of gotten good players any which way they could here in the last few years, and it's really paying off right now with that 7-game winning streak. Now, they did lose a series to the Mets over the weekend, who, by the way, are actually pretty hot right now. But I thought that they deserved to leap up into the top 10 here with that 7-game winning streak.
I feel like we should be playing Royals by Lord in the background here, right? I think coming into this season, we knew what the Royals' game plan was, which was we're going to build the rotation so we can at least stay in games, right? And as Matt mentioned, last June, they traded Aroldis Chapman to Texas for Cole Reagans, who, yes, is a Cy Young candidate. But in the offseason, they did a really good job in getting value starting pitchers in Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, and you add them to veteran Brady Singer, and all of a sudden, you're going to stay in games. Now, their team right now is 3rd in the league in ERA. Reagan's ERA is 1.93. Lugo's is 1.45. Singer's 0.98. Watkins is 4, but that's only because he had one bad start. But the rotation's been really good. But I talked to Matt Cortero, the manager of the Royals, yesterday on my weekly radio show. And, Matt said that the thing that was the most underrated about the Royals this year has been the offense. And it's not just Bobby Witt, whose obvious 1086 OPS, 4 homers and 8 RBIs speaks for itself, but they are 2nd in the league in runs scored to the Texas Rangers. They're 2nd in home runs. They're 1st in stolen bases with 20. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Now, they did get some bad news this weekend, though. Salvador Perez was off to an unbelievable start with 4 homers and 15 RBIs. He hurt his hip on a slide play at home plate on Saturday. He's been placed on the injured list. So that's going to be a punch in the gut to this Royals offense. We'll see how they respond. But one thing's for sure. To me, they've been the biggest surprise of any team in the American League to at least start the year.
All right, got a couple more teams here, time permitting. Gentlemen, we got to talk about the defending champs. Matt Snyder, they're sitting at 500 of the division. Not very good at the moment here. Are we giving them a champion's break, keeping them in the top 10?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, look, the offense is still great. I know it's been inconsistent, but I think there's a little bit more there in Wyatt Langford once he gets to see the league a little bit more. Evan Carter, great on base percentage, but his average will come up a little bit as we get more into the season. They just have so much offensive firepower, even with Josh Young on the injured list. Pitching is a problem, and it's probably going to remain a problem for a little bit, but they patched it together last year. And let's remember, they lost 8 games in a row last August. Very quickly after that, they lost, 7 out of 8 at the start of September. So they're used to dealing with this kind of adversity. And when you've got Bruce Bochy and the veterans in the clubhouse, guys, they just won the World Series. I'm not worried about them losing 6 out of 8 right now, including the series to the A's. But yeah, they've been bad recently, so they were due a little bit of a demotion. But yes, I gave them a little bit of a champion's break there.
Yeah, and their offense really is only coming from 2 key players. Adolis Garcia off to a great start, hitting .328 with 4 homers and 15 RBIs. Marcus Semien hitting .288 with 2 homers and 14 RBIs. Those two guys have carried the offense. Really, the rookies, Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford, haven't gotten started yet. The offense will get better. Now, on the pitching side, Cody Bradford's off to an unbelievable start. 3-0 with a 1.4 ERA. Bad news over the weekend. He was placed on the injured list with a back injury, and that was a huge setback because Bruce Bochy had announced on Friday that he was going to stay in the rotation even with Mike Lorenzen being put on the active list. So that was significant news at the time. Hopefully it's not a serious injury because he had been a story to start the year. But there is no doubt this Texas Rangers team is going to be a lot higher on Matt's power rankings in a few weeks. They are off to a slow start. I'm not worried about them. They're still the team to beat right now in the NL West.
And then this segment got to go in full circle, guys. We talked about the Yankees who had Juan Soto. We end with the Padres who sent Juan Soto to the Bronx here. The Padres up 6 spots after that win over the Dodgers in terms of the series. Matt, did you consider moving the Friars up any higher than 15?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I mean, there's a huge clump there. I mean, look at those 10. Oh, you could argue almost anybody should be higher, or almost anybody should be lower. Look, the Padres set the tone last week when they were down 8-0 on Monday to the Cubs and came back to win that game 9-8. And then they got their first series win by winning 2 days later against the Cubs. Then they go to Dodger Stadium and win 2 out of 3 there. Fernando Tatis Jr. looks great. Manny Machado maybe last night started to get it going with a big game there. Musgrove needs to be better in the rotation. They need to be more consistent as a team. But this last week, they looked really, really good, starting with that comeback on Monday.
Yeah, it certainly did, Matt. And, you look at Jake Cronenworth, who changed his bat angle, raised his hands a little bit, and he's got 3 homers and 14 RBIs to start the year because of it. Jurickson Profar, the left fielder, off to a surprising start. He's hitting .321 with a couple of homers. You mentioned Tatis, 5 homers, 12 RBIs. He looks like the guy before the positive PE test, before the injuries to his shoulder. He looks like a beast. And how about Jackson Merrill? What a start for the 20-year-old rookie. Looks great defensively in center field after being a shortstop most of his life. He's hitting .333. He leads the team with 12 runs scored. He's been a huge story. But I want to talk about the new pitchers in new roles with the Padres. We start with Dylan Cease. He has a 2.16 ERA in his first few starts. And Michael King is 2-0 with a 4 ERA, and that includes 1 bad start. But they have been huge. And then I think the biggest story for the Padres and the key has been the closer spot. Remember, they lost Josh Hader, arguably one of the best closers in baseball in free agency. Robert Suarez takes over. He is 5 for 5, Tommy Tran, in converting saves. That's been the key to the fast start for the Padres.
Coast to coast, nobody better than Jim Bowden and Matt Snyder. Guys, great to be with you once again as we continue to look at the MLB slate for tonight. Here's some notable ones here, including the teams that we talked about. Just off the board, Edward Cabrera should be activated off the IL and that shoulder issue to start against the Giants for the Marlins. And the Dodgers are -365 favorites over the Nats, with Tyler Glass now rocking a 3-0 record up against Mitchell Parker, who's making his first MLB start.